Imagine an international coin tossing tournament. The rules are simple. If you toss heads, you get to stay in the tournament. If you toss tails, you're kicked out of the tournament. The last person standing gets $100 million, and they start with 1 million people. How many coin tosses would it take until there's one person standing? 1 million, 500,000, 250,000, 80,000, 40,000, 20,000, 10,000, 5,000, 2,000, 1,000, 500, 250, 150, 25, 12, 6, 3, 1. It would take about 20 coin tosses for one person to finally win this competition, which means if you start off with 1 million people, one of those people, assuming every time everyone tosses, half get heads, half get tails, you would have one person out of that 1 million people that would toss about 20 heads in a row. Now here's the question, the money question. What would that person be thinking while they're tossing 20 heads in a row? Would they be thinking, oh, this is just random luck. I have no control over this situation. Or would they be thinking, I need to keep repeating my luck affirmations. I have some control over this. I need to pray to Jesus to keep getting lucky. Would they start to become superstitious and believe that they have some kind of involvement in whether or not they get heads or tails? And now imagine after they won on TV, because everybody would be interested in talking to this person. Everybody would be interested in hearing their experience of what it was like to toss 20 heads in a row. That would make them feel even more important, even more involved in their own success. Even from a logical standpoint, it's pure statistics. There is an interesting theory from statistics that explains why successful people can't really teach other people how to become successful. Because any kind of success through modern life involves a ton of variables. And most of the variables we will never know ourselves. Sure, they know what they did, but they only know what they did consciously. They have no idea what they did unconsciously. And critically, they have no idea what they didn't do. Because in order to become successful, you need to not only what to do, but you need to know what not to do that will keep you from success. And because they didn't know what they didn't do, they can't teach that to other people. Now, certainly, if you want to model somebody to learn strategies, to learn things, to become successful, and you try it through a trial and error model, that can be much more likely to lead you to success. But just learning directly from a recipe, blueprint, copy and paste framework, that's not going to work. There's a very fascinating book called The Sun Also Rises. The Sun spelled S-O-N. Where the author, Dr. Gregory Clark, an economist, studied family names for generations, dozens of generations in both Europe and Asia. And they studied how wealthy families kept or didn't keep wealth in their families over the generations. And they found something particularly unsettling. And that is that wealthy families tended to stay wealthy over several generations, even if they had 2 or 3 generations of poverty. Wealthy families somehow found a way to return to being wealthy, even if they went through a couple of generations of poverty, which kind of suggests that wealth has some kind of genetic component to it, which is the unsettling part. We don't like to believe in genetics. We like to believe that wealth is under our control, that our lives are under our control. There's another fascinating book called The Elephant in the Brain, where the anthropologist or the evolutionary psychologist Simler and Hansen demonstrate how everything humans do is really subconsciously a flex. Every time we express ourselves, every time we talk, every time we call attention to ourselves, it is at least in part a subconscious flex of our hierarchical dominance over everybody else. So when you think about super successful people trying to teach other people how to become successful, on the one hand, they can't teach you the stuff they didn't do, but on the other hand, they're also probably flexing their success. They're not really teaching people. Their intention might be consciously to teach people how to become successful, but their unconscious intention might be to flex their success to the world. Hey world, look at me. I'm successful. If you copy me, if you do what I did, you can be successful just like me. Particularly those who sell things for a living. If you look at all the sales courses, they all have one thing in common. The people teaching the sales courses are successful salespeople. But they can't teach you what they didn't do, and they might be flexing their sales success, which reinforces the idea that if you want to become a successful salesperson, if you want to become a successful persuader, if you want to become a successful seducer, you need to have this very strong frame, a very charismatic frame. You need to be an extrovert. But those that are insanely persuasive have discovered repeatedly the truth is actually the opposite. To become very persuasive, having a strong frame is not necessary. To become very persuasive, having a strong sense of charisma is not necessary. You don't need to be an extrovert. You can be incredibly persuasive from the frame of an introvert, someone who's not charismatic, somebody who's not a good talker. Because the secret of persuasion, discovered by those who are actually very, very persuasive, is to work within the existing mental map of your target, to work within the existing hypnotic state, the pre-existing hypnotic state of your target, and simply ask questions, curiosity-based questions, laid-back questions that expand their mental map from the inside out and carefully lead them to the conclusion you want them to be led to, so they will do whatever you want and think it was their idea. Another troubling discovery from Clark's book is that not only does wealth tend to stay in generations, even if there's a couple of generations of poverty, but poverty also stays in generations, meaning that family names that are associated with poverty tend to stay poor, even if there's a couple of generations of riches. Even if somebody strikes it rich and they stay rich, and their sons stay rich, and their sons stay rich, eventually they will become poor again. So the long and the short of the book, The Sun Also Rises, is that wealth tends to stay in families, even if those families have a couple of generations of poverty. And poverty tends to stay in families, even if those families tend to get rich for a couple of generations, which strongly suggests that there might be some kind of genetic component to becoming wealthy, which is something we don't like to believe, because we like to believe that your destiny is in your future, that your wealth is up to you and not some random genetic component that is out of your control. Now imagine our coin tosser is on TV talking about how they won the coin tossing contest. And they're talking about how in the midst of the tossing 20 heads in a row, they came up with a very special luck affirmation. And they kept repeating this luck affirmation through superstition, and it helped them become lucky. And suppose they were popular enough that they were approached by a publisher to write a book about their experience. And in this book, they talked about how you could become lucky by using this special luck affirmation. And suppose they started to teach seminars about how to properly use this luck affirmation to become lucky. And people would come to learn from them because they are the expert. They are the most successful, lucky person in the world. So it makes sense to learn from them, to learn the luck affirmation from this person who used their luck affirmation to become rich. That makes logical sense, right? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to learn more, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.